What's up, guys? I'm Jeff.
I'm Melissa.
Welcome back to the Real Life Podcast where we talk about faith, culture, and answer your questions. Okay, guys. I said that fast because I want to jump right into it. Here's the thing. We don't tend to make part 1 and part 2 episodes. This is that kind of episode. So if you
listened last week,
then yes, you'll understand this. And if you haven't listened to last week, go listen to last week. Because we kind of want to just jump into it, not give a ton of context and precursors. But we're talking about this concept where we believe one of the main messages that God's bringing to us, and hopefully I think a lot of the world right now, is that it's a chance to have our hearts return home. Mm-hmm. We talked about that doesn't mean in the conflated way of just like to marriages and just to, love your home, etc. Even though I think that's part of it. Single, married, not married, young, old, young professional, family, kids, no kids, etc. I think that God's calling us to return home. And we mean home in the sense of belonging, in the sense of ordinariness, in the sense of, the place that we go to bed and wake up every morning as a metaphor for faithfulness, And so, yes, we want to do a part 2 because we had a lot more to say on it last week, but we didn't want to do a straight up, revival Jesus culture song episode, And what I mean by that is I can make fun of worship songs all the time because I love them all. Like when you love everything, you can just totally make fun of it.
There is a time and a place for those songs.
There is a time and a place for the 17-minute one song track. And that time for me is pretty much never. I'm more of a 3-minute, say the chorus once, I praised him, we are good. But if we shall repeat this for 17 minutes, right? You cannot force the Holy Spirit to come. He will come or he will not. Singing this song over and over again won't make him come. In fact, it might make him go, okay, guys. Okay, I'm not coming until you stop. I'm joking because I love it all. I love Bethel. I love Jesus culture, the music, of course. I'm not going to get into every particular theological discourse on every worship, passion, Bethel, etc. But we love all their music. Their music's fire. Elevation, passion, Jesus culture, Bethel. Give me the 2-minute song. Give me the 17-minute song. Give me the Kim Walker where she's laughing and saying, ha, 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 and no, and all these things with Jesus, holy laughter. I'll take that. And I'll take the very concise Chris Tomlin, good father. I will eat at the Golden Corral Old Country Buffet of all worship music. But... like the Waymaker, by the way. So Waymaker's one of my favorite songs, guys. The original, because that's one of those songs that 7 people have done now. So who even knows, it's by. The original is written by, I can't pronounce her name right now, but I believe she's African, but I can't remember.
Sanok?
Yeah, it's Sanok. I can't remember what country. Is it South African? I'd have to look that up. But her rendition is the original. She wrote it, I believe, and it's incredible. And and she brings the tongues at the end. She's just saying Waymaker, promise keeper, and then I'm like, I love it. And I'm not a tongues guy, but man, that song is fire, and I'll take the tongues version over the regular one any day. But yeah, where were we at? What do you got? You got anything? No.
Oh, babe. You're getting some gray up in your hair.
Yeah, guys.
Oh, Silver Foxness.
Silver Fox, Steve Carell vibes,
What, Steve Carell? That's who you consider as a Silver Fox?
Yeah, he went to a Silver Fox fast. Not even...
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's a Silver Fox, though.
I would. He's my Silver Fox.
Silver Fox is like, well, I don't know any actor names, but I can picture them in my head.
Well, here's the thing about Steve Carell, guys. He went fast. Meaning, how many people do you know where, they go gray from, brown to gray in, a
shocked.
year? Yeah.
Ari is a Silver Fox. He's suddenly gray.
Oh, isn't that the Bachelor guy?
Yeah.
You can't pull Bachelor stuff on me.
Oh, I can. But we've been out of the game for a few years now.
Years, yeah.
Okay.
Return home. Waymaker. Funa glory. Yeah, but we had a lot more to add. And so, what?
We're going to make it a 17-minute song.
Yeah, we are. Exactly.
So tell us more.
Well, I think there's so much more there. I think that, first of all, hopefully last week was encouraging. Go listen to it if you haven't. I think that was kind of the crux of it. But I think there's still more to flesh out there, man, of what does that mean on boots on the ground? Meaning, how are we... Take our life. How do you feel like the Lord is actually... Because I think last week we were kind of saying the general, the heart, the philosophy, what we feel like the Lord's doing prophetically, and from a restorative spirit, renewal spirit. But then, how is this... What are you feeling? How are you seeing this kind of come home to us? And what does that mean for you? And and all that.
How about you answer that?
I don't know if I would answer that question particularly, or I could think on that in a second. I think one thing that is standing out to me is one thing I am loving that's allowing our hearts to come home, or that just is constantly beating that drum, is I feel like we're getting such good practice. And we've been like, we talk about rhythms and all these things, and we've practiced our ideal week and Sabbath for like 5 years now, if you go super far back, couple years, year, 2 years or so, probably more on the like trying to get the cadences of the days, etc. But I would say the reps were the kind of the ideal perfect reps we're allowed to get right now, because there's nothing that's just like radically upheaving our week. I think has been really helpful. Now, not in the sense of, one thing we're not saying is like, we're not saying that like, oh, we get to have our ideal weeks and perfect our rhythms, and that it's not perfect when like we get back to normal life and there's small groups and there's dinners, and no, that is real life. Real life is where we live, where we want to live. We want to have our weeks disrupted. We want to have our weeks, we want it to be different. We want to be invited places. We want to do things. Like, that's not what we're saying. What I am saying is having a certain time that does feel like it's more it's allowing us to accelerate the process of practicing because there's less distractions. It has been really helpful.
Yeah, totally.
And I just mean like, I think we're just like, we've always been a family that goes for walks. We've always been a family that does Sabbath. We've always been a family that does some of these things that I think a lot of people are discovering. We've always been a family that gardens. We've always things that a lot of people are discovering right now. But what's interesting is it's almost let us double down on those. Meaning like, I feel like, but we've gone on more walks now than even when we said before we did as a walking family. We've done, our Sabbaths have been more special than they even were before our normal Sabbaths. Like there's something about it that's just like, it's drilling these things down to really become powerful, and we're really being able to, it's giving like, how do I say this? It's almost giving like a really clean case study or sample size, or like way to like really just tweak it to be like, oh, this is working, this is not working. Not like, oh, what was the variable that made that not work? Was it that we were, busy or different or whatever? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's kind of
totally.
So and then I think with that, then I think
so really good for our family.
The fruit of that is, I think, that we're getting able to just like really hone in on the ideal week a bit more, which I think is always the goal. You never get to your ideal week. You get better and better at it, but you never get perfect. But I think that's the goal of spiritual formation. That's a little nugget too, by the way, I would say to people that I think a lot of people forget. A lot of families either try to shoot for the ideal day or they try to shoot for the ideal year. And one of those undershoots, one of those overshoots, I think the goal is to shoot for the ideal week. The week is the thing that repeats. The week is the thing we're meant to live in rhythm of. The week is the thing that is spiritually, I think, part of our identity. All the other ones are. Like, we are daily creatures. We are yearly creatures, seasonal creatures. But notice how the week is the only thing that actually has no external reality that should hold us to a week. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like the day, there's external realities that hold us to a day. The sun goes up, the sun goes down. There's external realities that hold us to a year. The rotations, another year around the sun. But week, there's nothing external that actually holds us to a week. In like the solar system, in the night, in the day, in the science, nothing. But yet it's still a reality. And there's you can go back to early communist Russia and some other places that have tried to disrupt the 7-day week, and it just like crashes and burns horribly. Yeah. Which shows me, I think the fact that there's no external reality, but yet it's so fixed, I think shows that that's even like, this is very much God's way. The 7-day rhythm is God's plan. Live in it and make it ideal. And if you can live your ideal week over and over, the goal is, and I think that's just big enough, but just short enough. Does that make sense? If you try to shoot for your ideal year, that's overwhelming. If you try to shoot for your ideal day, you can't pack enough into that. The ideal week is like, that's man, if you can live your ideal week and then just repeat that for 50 years, you will live an ideal life. And it's very doable and manageable to live an ideal week. 6 days and then 1 day of rest. 6 day, 1 day rest with certain parameters and stuff like that. But,
well, and that's why I think this season is so special. And this isn't true for everybody, because of course there's healthcare workers and people that are working a lot. And some families, I feel like are being even stretched more because their husbands or them are required to work more than they ever have
for
before.
Sure. Healthcare workers, etc. So yeah, we want to be super sensitive there. Yes.
But if you're not one of those, I feel like the Lord is giving us opportunity to just say, like, what are the priorities? Yeah. Like, what are the big stones that you're going to put down in your pillar, and all the other gravel and all the other rocks that you want to put in? You can decide if you want to add those in or not. Yeah. And so I think it's allowing us to really be like, what do I want my weeks to look like? What do I want my life to be about? What does my family need? What is a pressure that I put on myself or my family that we really don't need? You know? And like, what are the priorities? And I feel like that's a really sweet season that we've never had in history to just really be like, oh, these are what are healthy rhythms. This is what keeps me sane. This is what fills me up. This is what fills our kids up. This is how my husband and I can connect. And I think not being able to have all the noise really allows for that.
Yeah. Before I toss back to you to talk about the practicals of what I asked in the beginning too, of like, how are we really bringing the boots on the ground here? I'll say one more thing. Because I agree. I think there's two tracks here. I think there's one of like, for most people that I've been talking to, excuse me, guys, you guys know if you listen to this podcast, I got throat problems. So welcome to the Real Life Podcast. Especially when I'm taking my asthma medicine, it is 10 times worse. So there you go. One thing I'll say is, most people are in the track, I think right now, of what Alyssa just talked about, of like not, I think people in ministry right now are super overwhelmed. People in the medical industry, super overwhelmed. If you're not in that and you're kind of like, just kind of like at home, like everyone's getting transitioned, et cetera. But you know what we're talking about. I do think this is the best opportunity for a reset for your family you've ever had.
Yeah.
So take advantage of it.
Or your own life.
Yes, and lean into it. And that's why we've even done our 5-day challenge with family teams and all these things we're trying to deploy, because we feel like, man, we want to serve you guys because this is the best time to just get like you've never had a better like everything's wiped clean, like you can you can just implement so much right now in a helpful way, in a non-overwhelming way, rather than try to fit it in little like crumbs, good stuff and doing out with the bad or whatever. So you get to kind of rebuild and start from scratch. I will say, before let's talk about us some more, I do want to speak a word of encouragement over pastors, people in ministry, doctors, nurses, there's probably more, but anyone who's really feeling like this crisis is just putting their family in intensity mode, war mode. I just want you to be encouraged that we're praying for you. We're for you. We're in your corner, but also don't think you need to be something you're not, maybe because some other people are resetting. Some other people are doing some things. And like that, if you're in one of those domains I just said, you're not in this season then. And what I mean is, like, don't feel guilty, and it's okay to feel like you are on the front lines of a war right now, because you are.
You are.
And
you're our war heroes.
Totally.
Right now.
And wartime is different than peacetime, and front lines is different than the people that are farther back in the barracks or whatever, right? So, like, you have to use that metaphor and that analogy of, like, you are on the front lines, and people on the front lines of war live a very different life than citizens, and live a very different life than people in offices or whatever. And so be okay with that. And people on the front lines are very shrewd, meaning like just the things that matter are only the things that matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's it. And like, and so I would say that. And then one encouragement I would say is, notice soldiers in wartime, hold tightly to one or two rituals that can really, really deeply give you meaning, right? Whether it's lighting a candle at night and saying a prayer, whether it's make it something tangible too, not just something mental. Make it something mental that might have an attachment to something physical, like a prayer, but then with a candle or something like that. Maybe it's, like I get this picture of soldiers, just brutal fighting all day, brutal front lines and blood and weapons and cannons. If it's old time war, I was just listening to Hamilton soundtrack recently, so that's how I was thinking of that, all this stuff. But yet every single night, they come back after, to eat with their fellow soldiers, and they like hold hands and say a prayer before dinner or something like that. Like, there's still daily rituals, even in wartime, that soldiers hold to, that anchor you, that hold you down. And so whatever that is, find that, hold super tight to that right now. Cause I do think that'll the thing that rituals, especially in crisis, carry you. Rituals in crisis are almost like the gurney that kind of carry your kind of a body when it can't carry itself. But so that's what I would say. And so find that, search that out, yearn that, and ask yourself and you certainly don't want to misplace yourself in what place you are. Like if you're on the front lines, but you're telling yourself this is a reset time, that's not going to be helpful, right? Or reverse. Right. So, that's what I would say. But
it'll be hard if one of you is on the front lines and your spouse isn't. Yeah. And so well, really though, your spouse is. It's just you're serving in a different
exactly.
capacity.
I think the whole family is if
yes,
one is.
It is, yeah.
As a team. But I agree.
Yeah.
So, okay, but yeah. So then, just last couple minutes for us. What are back again to that reset? I think a lot of families are wrestling through that. How would you encourage a wife out there specifically listening, watching on YouTube? We're just like, man, yeah, I am feeling like, yeah, our life got disrupted, our life got upended. Mm-hmm. You know, we're feeling a little scared and fearful about, you know, bills, the economy, loss of job, but we are home right now. We do have time with the kids. Maybe they're little, maybe they're old. What do I do? How do I kind of bring some semblance of normalcy? Stuff like that. How do I start hitting the reset button without getting overwhelmed? Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Yeah. You know, that's a really hard question. I feel like I've been thinking about that since this all happened. And if I'm honest, I feel like the thing that has helped me the most is at the very beginning, Jeff and I kind of felt, I think we mentioned this on a podcast. No, we didn't. We talked about this in another thing. But right when COVID started, we felt this bubbling up of, we need to like restructure. We need to reschedule. We need to figure out how to do this. And it really was like last year was really, really hard. And then there was a few months around Christmas and right after where we all were sick and there just wasn't that much work to do. And then we went on a month-long trip. And so we just didn't have like normalcy and work for a really long time. And so we felt this like, we need to reschedule and figure out how to do this. And I was breaking down a lot. I was like, I don't feel like we're a team. I don't feel like we're one. And Jeff just kept saying, just tell me what you need. Tell me what you want. We'll make it happen. And I was like, I'm a 9. I can't just tell you what I want. Like, I don't even know what I want.
Guys, literally, we love the Enneagram memes. And there was an amazing, I forget the account, but it was something like communication types or how you communicate with your Enneagram types. And literally there was like the 8 and the 9 were like polar opposite. It was like the 9 basically said something like that. Like they don't know what they need. They have to be drawn out. They have to be asked a bunch of questions. They don't know what they need. And then the 8 was like, the only way they communicate is like, people have to tell them exactly what they need.
Just tell me the truth.
Because they can tell people what they need and tell them the truth. It was just hilarious.
So that's pretty much our marriage. So anyway, I say all that to say I felt really, really loved and served when Jeff said, tell me what you need. What do I need to do to just like make you feel loved, make you feel like we're on a team and to set you up? And so I sat for a week trying to think about it. And I came up with like 5 things and I told him kind of fearfully, he's like, okay, let's make it happen. And so we rescheduled our weeks in order to fit these things in. And I feel like, and when you were talking about returning home, returning to your family, I also think this is an opportunity for us as humans just to return to, this might sound super cheesy, but return to ourselves, to like really find out
our whole selves.
What do I need? What do I need that makes me feel alive, that fills me up, that refreshes me, that makes me connected with the Lord, where I'm not burned out, I'm not unhealthy. I'm my most healthy self. And so I feel like
connected
for
to the
me,
Lord, connected to yourself, connected to the ground.
Yes, just
we talked
connected.
about 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
And so for me, I almost feel like this season, and it's all related, and I think it's cool that it applies to whatever season you're in. It's been a returning to me in a sense of like, what do I need to be most connected with the Lord, to be the mom that I want to be and need to be to my kids, and to be a loving and faithful serving wife. And I feel like implementing these little things into the week is what is sustaining me. And I feel like, wow, I feel human. Yeah. I feel healthy. And I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying I don't get frustrated and I don't sin and I don't all those things, but I feel like I'm remembering who I am again, which sounds really silly. And I feel like I can't even totally put a finger on it. I know you can say it, but yeah. And so all that to say, I think just encouragement for women out there to see this season as a cultivating season.
Yeah.
Like a time to really dig in and remind ourselves of who the Lord is and who are we in Jesus and what do we need to be the women that he is calling us to be holy, to be faithful, to be loving, to be, just to be like the flourishing in a sense, which seems so crazy that we could flourish in a season that feels so hard and heavy and death. Yeah. But we can if we are abiding in Christ.
And really finding that. Yeah, exactly. And if you're part of our homeroom community, this last couple of minutes has really resonated, or you've heard it, because that's the month we're concentrating the whole month of leveling up our rhythms as marriages and families. And it's fun to see 2,000 of us go through that together. And this next part you'll remember from our BTS too, but our behind the scenes video we sent out to you guys last week. But I totally agree with what Alyssa said. And I want to talk to the husbands. I feel like if you're listening to this, you have to believe that it's better for everyone if you take ownership over doing everything you can to set your wife up for success. It's not her job to do it. I mean, it's everyone's job to be responsible for themselves, but it's also incumbent on you to do that for your wife and your kids, and it'll go well for you. And I kind of use this analogy, I think, in the behind the scenes video for homeroom, that it's kind of like the compound interest game or like the investing game when you're young and broke, where if you're in college and you start investing, you already feel broke. You don't want to give in college. You don't want to give another $10 a month to something that you feel like you can't touch. Right. You're like, I don't want to put another $10 away that's just going to disappear. I'm already broke. Right. But we know that literally that's how you get wealthy. It's literally how you get wealthy, is that over time, compound interest. If you invest early enough, even when it feels like you're broke and it's hard to even give 2 cents, that if you do it that early, man, you will be wealthy at 30, 40, 50, 60, or as long as the interest adds up. And I think that's true with that. You might be thinking, oh man, I have no more time to give. I have no more, they need to take care of themselves. I'm taking care of me or whatever, and I'm working and blah, blah. But if you can just give a little bit more effort, a little bit more time to setting up your wife for success, even when you're maybe time broke or energy broke, you will be spiritually, maritally, and familially, is that a word? Wealthy. And so I think that's huge. 2, what's funny is we've done this forever and with our marriage and our family, but we never took it as deep. We never took it, and we did do it kind of, but we never took it this layer deep personally for you. What I mean by that is we've always, and we've talked about this, you guys are totally familiar with this if you followed us for a while. We talk about our pillars, and we've talked about also our pillars of the week. Every week we kind of work backwards from, we have to have a date night, we have to get some time with the kids, we gotta, we schedule the things that are most important, and then we fill in all the gaps, not the reverse. If you fill in all the gaps with just what you're getting invited to and blah, 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 then you have no time for the important things. We've talked about that. We've done that for a long time, but that's always been with the marital activities or the family activities. But we've never done it for just you. And we realized that was getting we weren't doing that. And so then it was getting wasn't flourishing. You weren't flourishing. And so we had to work backwards from your priorities. And so, we literally wrote them down. And I will say, we'll be honest. I remember when I told her that, a month ago, I said, tell me everything you need, make a list and really think about it. And I remember saying, I might not be able to give you all of them.
Right.
And that's true too. So you got to there's a give and take in marriage. It's a dance for everyone. We're all working together as a team. But I said, I remember saying that to you. I was like, whatever you bring to me, I'm not guaranteeing you we can do it, but bring it to me.
I need a 10-hour spa day every day.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
But I remember saying that. I said, hey, bring everything you have. I'm not going to guarantee that we can do it all, but let's rank them and look at them and pick some and whatever. And honestly, we actually could do them all. They were I wouldn't say small enough because that's not the right word, but they're manageable enough. We could do them all. Yeah. And it was 5 or 6 things. I was you got to go for a walk every day. You got to have this time. You got to have a break. You got to have a writing thing. You have to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. We looked at our spreadsheet of our schedule. We could fit it in. We can put it here. We can move, and we tweak and we tweak and we adapt and we. I said tweak funny the second time. But yeah. So all that to say, we'll wrap up here in a second. But I think
all that to say, I think it just really helps to feel. So then I have joy when I'm serving, and I know, and I love then sending, if Jeff wants to go spearfishing or whatever, do something that fills him up. I'm like, of course, because. It's just a constant, we're giving and selflessness to each other.
Yeah.
But I did want to add real quick. I could see where if you're listening to this, it could be well, that's really cool. Returning home, being our healthy self. But as believers, aren't we meant to be on mission and big disciples and, Like, it's not about us. It's not
Who
about
wants
family.
to take that? You or me?
Well, wait, I just wanted to add to that.
Okay.
So that is so true. But I feel like this is the moment for us. I feel like this season, I've had more of a kingdom mindset
Totally.
than I have in the last 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like being able to serve my family, I'm like, oh, I am discipling my kids. I'm shepherding them so that they will hopefully one day know Jesus and walk with him and love and trust him. I get to, and I think this is a season, not returning home, yes, but also like service. Like, I'm thinking of people and I can send them a card. I can FaceTime them. I can send them a package. I can really like look into the grocer's eyes and say like, how's your date going?
Totally.
Are you doing okay? I feel like even more so than ever,
their name was the
I'm
grocer,
on,
but yeah.
right? Grocer?
No, I think you're right. I just never thought about that, but yeah.
On mission. And I think we get to be healthy so that then we can pour out God's love on other people. If we have an empty cistern, we have nothing to pour out, or what we do pour out is really weak and like, I don't know. I just know when I'm not poured into as a mom, my love comes out real icky for the kids. Like, I'm impatient. I'm loving, but I may be resenting. But if I'm like abiding in Christ and letting his Holy Spirit fill me, I can pour out so much more.
I was going to say the same thing. Everything you do that will have a lasting impact can only flow from you having been home, metaphorically, spiritually, or physically. Jesus himself wasn't the Jesus we know, or didn't have the impact that he did without being so home first, not just physically. Like, by the way, first of all, the ordinariness, the faithfulness he had for 30 years, God himself still chose to be home, to return, have a heart at home to flow out of for those 3 years on mission. But even if you take the heaven earth analogy, he was eternally at home. Mm-hmm. He was forever at home, right? In ultimate relationship with God the Father before he went on mission to us on earth, right? There's a sermon there. Oh, I'm going to preach that later. But your heart has to be home, and that's where stuff flows from, right? Intimacy, belonging, the things we said home are
which
last
is ultimately
week,
always in Jesus.
Exactly.
And that's where I feel like true hope comes, because even if you're struggling in your home right now, in your marriage, with being a parent, your weaknesses are laid out on the table. If you live in a broken home, you can have ultimate hope that you belong to Christ and that he is our security. He is our safe place. He pours into us. He fulfills us, and he loves us just because we're his, not because of our performance or the things that we can do or produce. Exactly.
So that's the encouragement I want to leave you guys with. We hope this, as a little bit longer 2-week multi-episode, part 1, part 2, was encouraging, man, that the Lord has us seeking his heart, seeking his face and ask the question, how God do you want me to return home right now? How God do you want our family to return home? How are you calling us to your heart, to your table, to your space, to the place of belonging, the place of being seen, the place of vulnerability, in ways that we were not noticing before? Ask those questions. And I think the Spirit and his power will illuminate and bring fresh revelation there. So we love you guys. Go listen to a 17-minute worship song. And we'll see you guys next week.